All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Ghost Train, a pacing podcast for you and me. Tonight we have guests Dan Robinson, Skip Talbot, and Wesley Luginbyhl. And I'm your host, James Gustina, and here with my other co-host, Marcus Diaz. Tonight we're going to be talking about a variety of topics, and they will include probably a pretty painful topic, our worst busts to date. Kind of a touchy subject for a lot of people, as well as how your family has impacted your chasing, and how often you get out, and then what significant others think of chasing, and how they view it. So I guess we can go ahead and dive right into some brief introductions here.
Hang on. Because am I not hearing? Is there like a wicked echo or something?
I got nothing.
Sounds good over here.
Good here.
Like Marcus is fixing his audio there.
Yeah, a little bit. Same problem we were having earlier too.
Well, episode 3, still working out some kinks, huh?
Yeah, really, man. We still haven't.
I know. I figured it out. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Oh man. I'm here talking and blabbing, and the guys are like, "What the heck is he saying?"
Marcus,
Okay.
Your audio quality is terrible, by the way. So just,
Yeah.
Oh, is it?
yeah.
That's disappointing. Wait.
Does this make it any better?
Yes.
Make it any better? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so as you can see, episode 3, and we still haven't figured anything out. Therefore proving that we are not worthy of a Kickstarter to fund my chasing this year. Maybe next year you guys can fund me for me to chase and bring you guys some horrible video year round.
I still think I deserve some Kickstarter, man. I will take all your free money.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not gonna. If you want to give me money, that's cool. I mean, I'll give you my PayPal account. So.
Yeah, really.
All right. So that's our first train crash. Let's hope this train crash doesn't happen for the rest of the episode. Oh, anyway. So did you introduce anybody, James, besides me and you?
Yeah, I went through everybody, but I think we can give Wesley and Dan at least a brief introduction beforehand, just so you can kind of get to know them a little bit better.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea. Let's start with Dan Robinson. Tell us who you are, where you're from, and how many years you chased. Oh, now I can't hear Dan. No, it's like, oh, you know why? Hold on a second. Again, I'm ruining the show. I'm ruining the show. All right, Dan, try again, because I messed up.
Oh, okay. Hear me now?
Yeah, we got you.
All right. Okay. I'm Dan Robinson. I live in the St. Louis metro area. I live on the east side of the metro in Illinois. Not East St. Louis, but I live out in the cornfields. And I've lived here for about 5 years. I used to live in West Virginia. I moved out here so I could be where the storms are, and because I like it out here. And I've been chasing since 1993. I went on my first lightning photography chase in July of '93, and made my first trip to the Great Plains in 2001. So
Yeah, so you've been at it for a while there. Cool. All right, let's go ahead and go over to one of my buddies here that is here locally, Wesley Luginbyhl. And obviously we know who you are, so where you're from and how many years you chased.
I live here in Amarillo now currently, but I've chased, probably about 10 years, but I used to make my dad make me go out and chase, so it's upwards of 15 years in some cases. But pretty regular since 2003, 2004, once I got to college and chased out Oklahoma for about 5 years. And been back here ever since. So.
Cool. Yeah, we Wesley and I love to get spoiled by our dry line, panhandle days. So.
We like to go bust. That's what we do.
Yeah. How long has it been since we've chased out here in the panhandle, man?
I chased.
Do we have to go back to 2010?
Probably. There's been a few little sneak-up storms, but nothing worthy since 2010.
Yeah. All right, guys. So I think we always talk about this quite a bit because I think we need to get the point across to some of these noobs. But we bust a lot. There's a lot of busts that are involved in this hobby. So I think a lot of guys kind of want to hear our worst stories, and that's kind of what we're going to start the day off with. Is our worst bust. We bust tons of time, but let's think back on the absolute one that stung the most or hurt the most or cost the most or something. I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think blue sky busting is really far from home the worst, or is just missing the storms completely the worst? Dan, what do you think?
He's thinking about it.
Oh, that was my cue? Okay, I missed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, blue sky busts don't bother me. What bothers me the most is when, 2003 was my worst. My whole season was a bust. I chased during the first 10 days in May, and everybody knows what happened in the first 10 days of May 2003. I saw 0 tornadoes despite chasing all but one of those events. So,
Dan, your bust on those 10 days of May is legendary. Like, when I remember you posting about that on Storm Track and just being amazed. Like, I was like, wow, this guy's an inspiration to chasing if he can do that and keep going.
yeah, well, when you bust and you wake up the next morning and it just hits you, you're like, man, did I really mess that up that bad? Yep.
Yeah, those sting the worst when there were storms to chase, I think. And there's plenty of chances to get tornadoes, but somehow you just mess it up. You just don't get you don't get there. So so do you guys agree with Dan that blue sky busting isn't as bad as just seeing the storms and just missing them?
I have a good time when I blue sky bust. If I miss a tornado by 10 minutes, that is the worst possible bust imaginable. Followed by not chasing when I should have and missing a nice tornado. But if I go and try and nothing happens, I had a nice drive through the plains. Awesome scene.
Well, let's all be fortunate. We are joined today by the bus master, Wesley. Some of your trips are legendary. You chased June 17, 2010 and came home empty-handed. You chased June 20th, 2011 and came home empty-handed.
Basically, if it's a big day and I was out there, I busted the past 4 years. That's just how it is.
Now, it was funny because I don't know if you remember, and I'm sure you guys remember old Steve Miller, Texas, but we used to call him the curse. When he moved here to Amarillo, things died down in the Panhandle, so he was a curse. And then he moved out, I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago, and, still things weren't that great. And it turns out it was Wesley the entire time, because I have been on several chases with him where we bust so hard, so far from home. Probably, I don't even know what day it was, Wes. You remember when we did that one-day trip to Nebraska and back?
That wasn't a good day anyways. We should have turned around in central Kansas. We didn't.
Yeah, for you guys wondering, me and Wesley woke up early, like 3 in the morning, to drive all the way to Aurora, Nebraska. For, I think it was probably at least a slight risk. It may have been a C-Tex, it may have been that delusional.
It was a 5%, and I think they moved it north out of Nebraska by the time we got to Nebraska, so we were pretty much out of luck.
Yeah. All the models were showing preset, 6Z, 12Z, and then 18Z came out, nothing on the models. And sure enough, it was a big blue sky cat bust in central, pretty much central Nebraska. Had to drive back home that night and then go to work that morning. So, yeah, we weren't exactly smart that one, but... So is that your worst bust, Wesley, or is there one even worse than that?
As you mentioned, the June 17th, but it wasn't just June 17th, 2010. I actually chased the day before that too, and had the correct target and missed that too. No, I'll tell that in a minute. It's brutal.
Well, James, you're kind of quiet over there. James, do you have any good stories about busting really, really hard?
So I'm kind of like in between. I hate busts equally. I think I'm an equal opportunity hater. The worst I think I ever had was it was a moderate risk day it was like southeastern Minnesota, northeastern Iowa. It was May of 2012. It's like storms went up that day, but I didn't think when I was looking up there to go chase that the terrain would be so horribly god-awful, the roads would be god-awful, and the storms would be just absolute garbage. But then by the same token, I don't have fun a lot of times on my blue sky bus because we always end up in the worst part of the plains. For example, I think the last two really bad busts I had in 2014, we ended up in Lawton both times. No one wants to end up in Lawton after a bust. Nobody wants to end up in Lawton, period. So it was
so true.
So it was kind of I think that was April 26th, that day before the all those nice looking tornadoes up in the northeast corner of Oklahoma, southwest Missouri. It was not fun. So it's a dead heat. Yeah.
So Dan, did you highlight any besides 2003? Was there any other days that you want to talk about?
November 17th last year was pretty painful, mainly because I nailed the forecast, but I didn't stick to it. And I missed tornadoes 9 miles from my house, so that wasn't very fun.
I'm telling you, if there's 10 commandments to chasing, one of them is stick to your original target. Always.
Or if you live in Moore, don't leave town.
Yes, if there's a high risk anywhere in Oklahoma, just stay in Moore or OKC, and you're guaranteed. Or Norman. Norman's been pretty fortunate to get hit a few times. So
that's not a new joke. We used to joke about that in 2005 and 2006. Anytime there's a chance in Central Oklahoma, you stay in Central Oklahoma. It'll burn you every time.
Yeah. So I think the other rule is you don't live in Moore. You don't live in Moore. You know better than that.
Yep. Skip, besides your first chase, was there anything worse than that? What's your worst?
Oh yeah, I have excruciating busts every year, just foaming at the mouth. I think my two worst busts actually occurred in the airplane when we were trying to do aerial storm chasing, and one of them was May 25th, 2012. Remember those beautiful tornadoes out in central Kansas that day? And we nailed our target. We were sitting right there at the spot in the airplane, ready to go. We saw the Q field starting to pop right on the triple point. We were like, this is it. It's going to be great. We took off, intercepted this storm going up. I think we were by Russell or something. And we flew little circles in front of this storm for a long time. And it was wall cloud. Other storms started to go. The show's really getting good. Sunset, the sun's dropping. And storms are tornado warned, and we're out of gas, and we had to leave. We had to leave the storm, and it's because we were still figuring out how to aerial chase. We didn't budget our time and our fuel properly. So we wasted all of our gas while the storm was building, and then we had to leave and fly 40 minutes away and land and get gas. And when we left and got gas, the tornado show started. Just all of those gorgeous tornadoes, everything that we had worked to capture happened then while we were sitting on the ground fueling up. And then we gassed up, and it was nighttime, and we flew home. And just I saw, as we were leaving the storm and flying to the airport to get gas, I could see Spotter Network lighting up, all of those red icons on the map, and I was so disappointed I could taste it. It was just, I was gritting my teeth the whole way back. It's awful. Then 2013, the Roselle Day, we were flying again, and we were on the North Storm. So we picked the wrong storm for starters, and I got so airsick because the thing about flying in a supercell environment is that it's so damn bumpy, and because of the turbulence and the lift, and I got so sick I started heaving out the side of the airplane. Just head out the window, 130 miles an hour of wind blasting in my face. It's dark outside, it's storming, and I'm heaving down the side of the plane. It's blowing down the plane, it's blowing back into my face, it's getting into my shirt, and I'm just wet and miserable. It's in my nose and it burns, and I couldn't do anything. I was a wreck. And Caleb had to do all the flying and all the navigating because I was just completely out of it. And we landed at an airport, Great Bend maybe, I don't remember, and I heaved again on the ground. And then the storm caught up with us while we were on the ground. The gust front went overhead, and Caleb turned the plane into the wind so it wouldn't blow away. And he's like, Skip, we got to go. So we took off between the gust front and the hail core. And that was one of the most scared I've ever been in my life, was taking off in that position. The plane bucked when we got off the ground. And unfortunately, this squall line went up. And this is when the Roselle tornado started. This squall line went up in front of us. It was like a zipper from north to south, and it cut us off from getting to that Roselle storm because we can't fly through a storm. It's too dangerous. So we had to abort our chase. We had to leave the Roselle tornado, and we had to fly home. And I was so sick, I didn't even care. I didn't care that there was a tornado. It was not only my worst bust, it was one of the worst days of my life. I've never been so sick in my entire life. When we landed, I laid on the ground for about 10 minutes, just spitting grass, and it made me never want to fly again. Actually, too, I have my pilot's license, and I don't know if I'll ever use it again. So, but those are my two. Those are my two worst busts right there in the airplane.
I remember those days. Yeah, I busted May 25th of 12. I think I told the story before, but the car I was driving blew an engine between here and there. I had to drive back home, limp it back home, get in my other car, drive as fast as I legally can, and still missed it because it was too far away. But May 10, 2010, I'm sure you guys remember that big high risk in Central Oklahoma. I messed that day up because I didn't follow that rule of choose your target. I think I targeted Perry, Oklahoma that day. Got suckered into the early afternoon stuff. I think there was like a mesoscale discussion for tornadoes in southern Kansas for the early stuff.
Oh, yeah, you went up to Kansas.
Yeah. So
I was talking to you that day. I was like, where are you going?
So yeah, we're driving. We got to Shamrock, me and my friend Jake, and I'm like, man, we could go to Kansas and see tornadoes in Kansas, and then drive further and get the stuff in the evening. So he was all for it. Yeah, we got to Shamrock. We went north. I think we went to Liberal. And by that time, it was like 3 o'clock, and then we started going east, and by that time, everything started blowing up, and we just got caught in the rain and didn't see a thing. And we were basically traveling on the south edge of Kansas all the way to I-35, seeing nothing. We had a tornado report 1 mile south of us at one point, but it was so high precip we didn't see it. And then I come to find out that there was a tornado that came very close to Perry, Oklahoma that day. So, yeah, I didn't follow the cardinal rule, and it burned me that one time. So, Wesley, I know you got more stories. I know that. What's the worst? I need to know the worst because you have a lot. I need to know.
Okay. I guess about June 15th, I was in Border, Texas, just outside Amarillo, about 50 miles. I was like, hey, I'm going to go chase. I mean, it was real clear target was in that Faith, South Dakota area for June 16th, 2010. Like, I had the target down. I mean, it was real clear where to go. I was like, okay, I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I went to bed at maybe 11. I'm in Garden City by 7 a.m., had to stop in Walmart and get a monopod so I could have a dash cam. As I'm blasting north, for whatever reason, I'm like, hey, look at western, like, Nebraska Panhandle area. That looks pretty good. That's not as far. Two bad things there. Storms did form. There's no roads out there. Like, I somehow got a couple good pictures, but there are no roads. Absolutely horrible. And then I start hearing about what's going on in South Dakota, right at my target that I could have reached by 5 p.m. no problem. And it's Tornado Fest. Like, people are like, 14 tornadoes. You know, I'm sick at that point. I'm like, whatever. Well, I was like, I wasn't planning on chasing June 17th because I needed to be back in Amarillo the following day by 5 p.m. I drive all night. It took me to like 1, 2 a.m. to get to North Platte. On the way there, a hawk lands in front of me, and I smashed it with my ion. I don't know how it didn't do any damage. It's the biggest freaking hawk I've ever seen. Like, I get out, no marks. I know I killed that hawk, without a doubt. In the Sandy Hills, I didn't see a car for like an hour and a half out there. I don't know. I get to North Platte, for whatever reason, you know, I sleep till about 10 a.m. I look at the forecast, and I'm like, hey, Iowa looks really good the next day. I broke my own rule. I went to Iowa. I get on a storm that day. It kind of wall clouds, but then everything blows up kind of east of that line and right on the Iowa-Minnesota border, which Skip has great video of, and the whole up there in Minnesota, every storm's going absolutely nuts while the stuff in Iowa just fizzles within minutes. I end up going up, seeing the damage in Minnesota and all this stuff. So then I'm at 10 o'clock at night. I'm in Minnesota, and I need to be in Amarillo by 5 p.m. the next day. I drive till 4 a.m. I get to Kansas, the west side of Kansas City, pull over, sleep for 2.5 hours, and then I'm back in the Panhandle by 1:30, and I am in back to Border by 2:30, get a shower, and get to Amarillo by 5 o'clock. I drove, it was 59 hours of chasing, 2,500 miles, and what was it? I was up for 59 hours, and I only slept for 9 hours in that whole period. Absolutely horrible. Mind you, all that solo, just
Wesley,
there's not a word for it.
dude, Wesley, I think you win, man.
I didn't throw up though. I felt like throwing up, but at least I didn't throw up.
I died a little listening to that story, man. To miss. I didn't chase June 16th, but to chase both of those days and miss, I die.
It still burns me. Anytime it's like a far away distance, like I'm still surprised me and Marcus ever went to Nebraska, because I've busted countless times. One time I've seen a tornado there. Cherry County, that stupid July 13th monster storm. We took forever to get that storm. We almost busted. We cleared all the way back across South Dakota, got to that storm, and as far as I know, we're probably the only ones to see that tornado. There might be one other group. Most of them were really far south and missed the tornado on that day. But my only Nebraska tornado is Cherry County, if that tells you anything. I've chased
county.
Devil's country.
It really is.
Yeah, that's another commandment. Actually, someone that's watching needs to get on this. Someone needs to write the 10 Commandments of chasing. One of them is don't stray away from your original target. Number 2 is don't chase Iowa. It's full of lies. So.
Don't target the sandhills either.
Number 3, Valentine's never a good target. Don't be fooled.
Yeah, don't target there, but if a storm goes near there, get there as fast as you can.
Yeah, Valentine. That area is not the greatest for chasing, but seems to always be once or twice a year. There's like good storms up in Cherry County.
And that storm I was on actually got to Valentine, turned due south, and went right along the highway. That was the only reason we ever saw anything. Like, we should have got overtaken by a massive hail core. We got extremely lucky.
Lucky.
Yeah.
Oh man, all of y'all guys' stories breaks my heart. So just know that. But I think we've all had we've all been burned pretty bad at some point. And yeah, I mean, like I said, like you guys said, the blue sky busts aren't that bad. It's the ones where you're just a few minutes away from it, or you're trying to get through the rain and don't see it. I think that's
Screwing
the
up
worst
legendary
part.
days are the most painful.
I dropped my mouse. So, anyone got any other stories to add? That's nice and painful and brings up repressed memories.
June 7, 2008. That's my Iowa story. I drove all the way into Iowa. I chased that one by the book, man. Picked my target, stuck to my target, smack dab in the middle of the MCD when it went up, smack dab in the middle of the red box when it went up. On the storm at initiation, rain-free base, wrap around, RFD, wall cloud, another wall cloud, another wall cloud. Day is done, driving home, and it was wedge fest 20 miles from my house. And all the slackers in Illinois who were too lazy to get up and chase Iowa just drove out there and saw all these wedges. And that was excruciating because on the drive home, you just watch the reports come in and you're just foaming at the mouth. So, sorry, that's my Iowa story.
I'd forgotten about. I have a Iowa story as well. It was also in July. It was 2013. We started the day. We were in Cincinnati. A friend drove down from Columbus, and then we picked somebody up who lives in Bloomington on the way. We made it to we made it to about Champaign. We're sitting there. We're sitting in it's like corn everywhere. It's a new crop of corn. It's not fully up yet, near a wind farm, and we're just sitting there waiting. There's nothing. There's not a cloud in the sky anywhere. This is probably about close to 3 o'clock. And we said, all right, we'll go a little bit further west. I think we made it not quite to Peoria before we finally decided, you know what, it's not going to do anything. Let's just go back. We ran into a bunch of little Unicell pop-up crap, and I think we sat at McDonald's just across the state line into Illinois for about probably close to 4 hours prior to heading for Quad Cities. And as we're driving back home, around an hour before sunset, a really, really big ass, I'm talking monstrously huge, surprising storm goes up there near, I want to say it was maybe 50 miles north of the Quad Cities, going into that horrible area, Illinois. And it was putting out a tremendous lightning show. It was a huge storm. I don't think it was ever had a chance of being tornadic, but it was apparently a beautiful storm. There was maybe 2 people on it that have photos of it, and it just burnt. It hurt so bad because I got suckered in and then decided at the last minute, nope, you know what, I'm going to come to my senses and not go after this, and it burned us badly. We wasted so much gas money just crisscrossing around Illinois waiting to jump into Iowa, and it never happened.
So Dan, do you have any other stories, bus stories?
I've got a lot of busts. I had the June 5th, 2010, the Illinois tornado outbreak, and I was on the storm and left it because it didn't look the same. The updraft went up in the middle of stratus, and it just didn't look right. So I went down into Missouri on an outflow boundary, and by that time, I think it was the Elmwood, Illinois tornado was in progress at that point, and just hopelessly out of position to catch it. Of course, that storm was going 40, 45 miles an hour, so I had no chance anyway. But yeah, I tend to dislike missing things that are close to home. I can deal with things that are far away, but if I go somewhere and I miss something that's kind of in my home area, that stings a little bit more.
Yeah, when they're that close to home, it does hurt. I got a question for Wesley here. So, May 24, 2010, how much did that hurt?
Which one?
May 24, 2010, Spearman.
I saw that though.
But you were like 20 miles away. Yeah.
Man, you tried to rub it in.
Well, I'm just. The thing was, we were all converged on the same little hill outside of Miami. We're all watching the same thing, and
we couldn't even see the towers. Miller saw that tower through the sunlight somehow, and
well, he had those sunglasses on, and he saw he could barely see the outlines of it. But I think we all left at the same time,
Yeah.
and it was only me and Steve that went due north.
Y'all both did north, but I just came in on that highway. I didn't want to take that windy back country road, so I went back to border. I was like, I'll attack it from the south. Well, I could have got up there the same time as you, but by the time I got to north of Stinnett, I was like, I'm not going to waste any more gas. I stopped at this split in the road that branches off towards Pringle Morris area, and I sat there and watched it. And then I sat there for 30 minutes, and then all of a sudden I started seeing tornado reports pop up. So I started to drive, and as I drive, I see this tiny, like millimeter little needle sticking out of the back of the storm, and it was the tornado. I actually have pictures of it. I have the whole updraft and everything. There's this tiny little dash under the storm that's the tornado. But yeah, I measured it. It's about 20 miles from where I saw it.
It just shows how flat this area is.
Yeah.
Oh, so yeah, I can't even think of any more like chases that hurt. But that's probably because they're buried in that part of the brain where you forget things, like forever, repressed memories. That's where most of my busts go.
So the longer you chase, you realize that you get to see a lot of things. Like, start realizing that it all balances out. Every chaser is going to have their big days that other people didn't see. You're going to have your busts. They're going to have their good days. So it becomes less painful to deal with as time goes on. You get over it faster.
Yeah, I think you're correct. The longer you chase, the less it kind of hurts because you just have it happen. But there's still
if you're me, the more you chase, the more you bust.
Yeah, that's true. It stings a little less, but every year it happens where you have that one bust that it's hard to get over it. It takes a long time. Usually you get over it only after you catch another tornado that's equally as nice. So
there are even days when you see tornadoes and it still just feels like you didn't do, like that horrible April day in 2013 down southwest Oklahoma, that moderate risk, like that day I saw a tornado. That day still felt like it was a piece of garbage. It was just didn't live up to expectations, and it's still the majority of the people I was with didn't have a clue what they were doing, and as a result wanted to stay back, and most did not feel comfortable getting close to the storms to even see anything. So it was just kind of like, well, we can't really do much. So
yeah, that's another commandment. If you're chasing with the group, make sure the group is very trustworthy, because you don't want to be strayed away from others' opinions, especially if you feel like you're doing it right. So on that subject that you were just saying, April 17th, 2013, I remember that day. I chased that day. Didn't hurt as bad, just because no one really saw anything that day. There was a few tornado reports. There's some guys. I know Adam Lucio was right there in the thick of it in Lawton that day. But it was very.
I got that power flash, but what hurt that day is by the time we got to Childress, that was the coldest rain I've ever felt. By the time we got back to Amarillo, it was snowing. I was in shorts. That day hurt.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Well, I've had that chase, too, back in 2011 or 12. It was some April day in Kansas. And me and Brady chased all the way out there, busted way up by El Dorado. And we had to drive back to Oklahoma City to drop the other guy that we were with. We had to drop him off at about midnight. Well, we started driving home, and I know Wesley he can vouch for this, but I'm the worst person at night because I cannot stay awake while driving.
Yeah, I won't let you drive at night.
Yeah. If I'm driving at night, you better be pretty damn scared. So we had to pull over for like 2 hours because I couldn't stay awake, and then I kept falling asleep going back, and of course it didn't help that Brady didn't know how to drive a 5-speed, so he couldn't just take over driving for me. I was like, this is going to be the day you learn, and he didn't want to, so whatever. But anyway, yeah, we chased up in Kansas, and then by the time we got home, it literally was snowing. It was like a moderate snow in Amarillo, so yeah, I know how that goes. But, Shane Adams, who might be watching, said a really good quote the other day in the chat room, and I think we've repeated it before. It's, don't be afraid to bust, be afraid of not being able to chase. which is really true if you think about it. You know, once you get to that point where you can't chase, whether it be physically or financially, it's a pretty tough decision. You know, it's a pretty hard pill to swallow. So, if there's anything you guys can take from our stories, it's that. Don't be afraid to bust, because everybody busts. Even the big big time chasers that have their fancy equipments and stuff and TV shows bust also.
Yeah, and don't be afraid. Like Mark is saying, don't be afraid to bust, but be afraid of Lawton. Really, do be afraid of Lawton.
Yeah, there's some weird people in that town. Like, I won't go into the story of some of the people who came up and talked to me that day. I was creeped out. They kept following me around town too. Like, just not a good place to chase.
Yeah, on April 17th of 13, when we chased, we were going to eat in Lawton, and then I forgot that we were in Lawton. So I was like, you know what, let's just stop by a gas station, get some chips, and go home. So that's what we did for dinner. So, all right, guys. Well, that was pretty good. So let's talk about some serious things now. This is more of the serious subject for tonight. Two of us here have full families. That is, wife and kids. And I'm pretty sure, Dan, are you single, Dan?
Yes.
Okay, so we're all kind of rocking the single boat with no kids or wives, Dan, James, and I. So that obviously does differ and change up our chasing habits and frequency. Maybe you guys, Skip and Wesley, you guys just don't know it enough yet because you guys are relatively new fathers. But what do you guys think is going to change, or what has changed? Wesley, we'll start with you. Since you kind of started your family and settled down.
First is just financial, and the financial affects everything. How far you plan on going? Like, I don't know. It affects every bit of your chasing. Then it affects your forecasting. If you're, well, there's a better target further away, but it's further away. It just hits you on all fronts, and it gradually progresses, at different stages of your family and stuff. It really gets you in all aspects.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. That you can't exactly go further and chase forever, even if you can financially do it. Time is kind of against you. You can't be away from your family too long. Skip, anything you want to add to that to kind of complement Wesley's comments there?
I'm a brand new father, so I'm not really qualified to say how it's going to affect my chasing yet. I know it will, obviously, but from my perspective, the baby is kind of you've got spinning plates, so you're juggling things, and the baby's another thing now that you're juggling, or another plate that's spinning. And, if you manage everything right, I think you can get all those plates spinning at once. I am going to be out chasing this spring. I probably will not. I absolutely know I won't be chasing as much, but I will be out there. Somebody told me, I think it was down in Norman last month, Jim Ledoux took his 9-month-old out chasing. So, and I intend to beat that record. So, take my 6-month-old daughter out this spring sometime. No, we'll see. I absolutely will be out there, and I probably will take my daughter out when she's very, very young. So we'll see.
That reminds me of a story.
Go ahead.
David Holder told me it was May 5th, 2007. He didn't have anyone to chase with, and someone had to watch the dog. He's like, well, I'll take my dog with me. And he was in Oklahoma City, and he was just going to go out to Elk City. He made it to, I think, Weatherford. The dog, I think, crapped in the car, just had a horrible time, so he turned around and went home. And then the text line, that tornado formed a text line, went through Sweetwater. He was an hour away from being able to get to that, driving-wise, but, a little thing in the car destroyed that for him.
So not just having a family, but having...
Well, yeah, but that makes me think of chasing with a kid. That just seems disastrous.
Yeah, instead of stopping for fuel or for restroom breaks, you're going to be stopping to change diapers and
get the kids
warm the bottle.
If you're lucky if your kid helps car rides. Your kid might be just throwing a fit the entire time, no matter what you do. there's only so much of that you can handle.
So, all right, so we got that kind of perspective on it. Now, we'll jump over to you, Dan, because I think, not only are you single, but unlike me and James, you're pretty financial set to kind of expand your boundaries of chasing more so than we are. So, just kind of explain, I guess, kind of your habits. I mean, do you kind of just go after anything, or are you able to do that, or how does it work with you?
Well, I've become a lot more selective of what I do in the Great Plains just by virtue of the fact that I live in the Midwest, where stuff happens in my backyard at various times throughout the year. So I can get my fill locally without having to travel. And there was one year I didn't go to the plains at all in 2011, and I still saw tornadoes. And but I've worked for a company in West Virginia since I started for them in 1997, and they have been the reason I've been able to do what I do, basically. They've been extremely great to work with and being flexible, letting me work from home, letting me move out here. So I have to give credit to them for pretty much everything. I don't know how easy it would be to find another company like that. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's always an ease of mind when your job can kind of work with you. Wesley, do you have any advice for the new father, Skip, over there, in terms of with the family and whatnot, having the kid?
At least I think his kid's going to be young enough this chase season before they can really start to guilt him. They'll get to the point where they really start to talk and whatever, like when they really know you. You'll be on the phone with your wife and all you hear is dad, 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 dad. It'll kill you being away from the house. Like there's just nothing you can do about that. I mean, you'll be like, I could see tornadoes, or I could be there. And I mean, they'll be mad that you're gone. And I know it's going to get worse for me. My kid's only 18 months today. Like, especially gets older, gets into more activities that are, and that's another thing, actually, with if your kid's in daycare, if say it's your day to pick them up, someone's going to have to pick them up. If it's your day, it's your day. You're not going out chasing. I have a situation now that's not going to affect me, but that's how it was last year. Like, there was just certain days I just couldn't chase. Like, I could try to line something up, but there's just nothing you could do. And it's a million things you don't think about affecting your chasing. Like, or one prime example, it was when my kid was 6 months old, the May 29th storm last year, 2013, the one that big hail damaged here in Amarillo. I ended up chasing the Oklahoma Panhandle that day or somewhere, and that storm formed west of Amarillo, had tornadoes. I start driving back because the storm does a loop, literally. It goes northwest, loop around, and then starts heading for Amarillo. And I'm freaking out. Like, I get to Canadian, I'm calling my wife. She's not answering her phone because she had it on silent. I did whatever speed I had to do. I saw 3 cars between here and Panhandle. Finally, once I got to about Panhandle, I'm still outside Amarillo, the tornado warning went off here in Amarillo, and it set off her phone alert. So she woke up and talked to me, and she ended up having to go down in the storm shelter and everything else. Like, the tornado's path would have been about 4 miles north of my house. So once it got within range, I could tell it was going to miss my house. But that's the other thing, freaking tornadoes happening, when you're away from home. They always find a way when you're gone, and then if your family's at home, I mean, it freaks you out so much.
Yeah, well, Skip brought his daughter on camera now, so...
Yeah, I just got dropped off a baby, so I'm on baby duty here.
Oh, now you done it.
That's my new weather radio alarm.
All right, well, Skip, we'll let you attend to that.
And there's prime example. That's what it's like having a family.
Well, that was kind of perfect cue right there.
Yeah.
Oh, man. So yeah, James, me and you were kind of just, well, if we could chase, we could chase, as long as our wallets can allow it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, do you think you're going to change? I mean, are you going to have to change when your life changes like that?
Oh, yeah, definitely. College, don't get me wrong, college does somewhat interfere with chasing, but not horribly. Like I can still chase most Panhandle, Oklahoma, Southern Kansas days with relative ease, even during the week. But as I get a job, once I finish up my degree, I still have a girlfriend right now, and it's kind of like it. I can't chase every single day. I can't go all the way to Dakotas, and it's starting to get a little bit harder because it's just I've got more on my plate, and I'm sure once I get a job and start a family, it'll definitely I guess eat into that time, and it's kind of what I expect it to happen. I'm not gonna be able to drive out on every 5% out there in western Kansas or eastern Colorado on a whim.
Well, it just takes so long doing those. It's not that you're away for whatever, but you have to leave early that morning. If you actually have a good chase, you're on the road chasing till 10 o'clock. Then by the time you turn around, you're looking at back in Norman, you're like 5 a.m. if you're lucky or something.
Yeah.
You have a family. That is just, I'm 30 now, so I used to be able to do the night drive and I could plow through to 5 a.m. Now it's like freaking 10 o'clock. I'm like, I want to go to bed. I'll pull over and start napping at 10 instead of driving home. And that's the other thing. Just age gets you too. Like, I miss those college days. They were easy.
Yeah, that's another thing too. It's like I can eat like a garbage disposal on a chase. I don't have to worry about that. I can blow through like 2 Mountain Dews and I'm fine. But it's definitely I can't. With more responsibilities, it's becoming harder and harder to justify going 4 hours both ways in the dark to see on a marginal day. And the same thing with my money situation. Like I'm a college student. I'm not rolling in it or anything, and it definitely makes it harder once the belt's tightened a little bit.
Yeah, I guess I kind of have it the best of both worlds because my girlfriend is actually my chase partner. We've chased quite a bit last year, and I say best of both worlds because my night driving is terrifying, and that also means she's terrified of it. So she'll actually just drive at night, even though it's kind of a painful thing. But
yeah, that was kind of nice chasing with you. What was that? Some March day or something in Western Oklahoma? Like at the end of the day, you just handed the keys to her, and we both got to sit back and relax.
Yeah, that was April 23rd last year. Yeah, Western Oklahoma. We ended the day, I think, in was it Elk City or something like that?
Yeah. I got some lightning pictures that day. That's about the extent of it.
Yeah, and that was kind of a bad day, but yeah, it was just. All right, I'm done.
Charles Jr. It wasn't that bad.
Yeah. So Dan kind of touched on this, and this is kind of our next subject, but we all obviously have jobs that we have to do to make money. Storm chasing is not an income-based hobby for us. It's more of like a money pit, really. Have any of y'all ever thought about going back and just think about how much money you've spent in storm chasing, not only with equipment, but gas and lost time at work and stuff like that? Is anyone even prepared to see that number and be like, oh man, I wasted that much money?
I wouldn't want to know my annual leave, just the amount I've spent on that.
Yeah. Dan, do you keep records of that at all? Oh wait, hold on. I'm sorry. Sorry, say that again.
Yeah, I keep pretty good records because I count it officially as a business, and part of the reason that I worry about making video sales is because without that, there's no way I can do this. I mean, it is a money pit, and I've gone back and looked at what I've spent, and basically a full retirement is basically what I've spent on the past 20 years. So I've spent my retirement chasing.
Oh man, that's painful to think about. So, I don't want to get too personal, but do you have a dollar amount, kind of a rough estimate of what you spent?
Well, I did that a couple years ago. I tallied everything up, and it was probably around $150,000 since 1993. It's probably more than that now because I haven't tallied it up. But again, I made some years. I count weather video when I say I've made some of the money back, when I lived in West Virginia, I did a lot of ENG video shooting in town there, but most of it wasn't storm chasing. It was going downtown and shooting, people with umbrellas in the rain and stuff like that, and that paid for a lot of my chasing. But if I segregated my weather footage to, like, okay, here's rain and snow, here's convective severe weather, the convective severe weather part is always a loss because of the expense. So expensive. I might have a good day where I make a decent amount of money on one chase, but when you roll it into the entire season, every chase all throughout the season, it's never comes out ahead.
So you mean to tell me that for 20 years of chasing, you spent about $150,000?
Yeah. And that is, I mean, there's a lot more than you would think, because you have to look at not just your fuel and your hotels, but in my case, you use up your vehicle a lot faster than the average person does. So you have to buy a new car more often, and there's equipment. There's there's a lot more expenses than you might. When you sit down and look at it on paper, it really jumps out to you how much it costs. So yeah.
Oh, okay, so just to recap for everyone that just watched, 150 grand for 20 years of chasing. That's a new car and a new house, basically, worth of chasing. Although it is a bit of a scary thought when you kind of broaden out that thought to that far out, it doesn't seem so bad. I know I posted a good thread in StormTrack, and I hope everyone that hasn't gone to vote does vote, because I was coming up to a fork right now on the road. Okay, actually it's a three-way fork. I posted that, would you rather live paycheck to paycheck and chase whatever you can with a flexible job, that lets you do it, or would you rather have a much steadier paycheck that pays more but is more restrictive when you're chasing, like basically just restricted to a vacation that you take, you got to take months in advance. And yeah, I'm kind of at that point. I was looking for something that pays better than where I'm at now, but the only good thing about where I'm at now is they let me chase whenever I want. They let me take, I got the clearance last year to take 2 weeks off in June this year, and then I could still chase in May if I wanted to, as long as it's relatively close to home. So I kind of had that flexibility. That's one fork, and then the other fork is another place doing the same thing, different location. Probably pays better in terms of the long run. Yearly I'd be probably paid better. But the thing was, is they were not going to be flexible on their schedule. Now my only third option is one I'm trying to work on now. I'm looking into a possible job offer in Nebraska, Hastings, Nebraska, right in the center of it all. So I can chase the Dakotas in one day. I could chase the Panhandle in one day. I could chase from the Rockies if I wanted to. So that's kind of what I'm aiming for. I'm trying that one, especially because there's a relocation bonus and a sign-on bonus. So that would actually be a good thing for me. So that kind of brings us into our next little topic here, is how your jobs affect your chasing. And yeah, we're going to kind of talk to each of you guys about what you do and how that allows you to chase more or less, and kind of what your dream scenario is. I think, although that's probably a redundant question, because I think everyone has the same answer for your dream scenario, and it's one that Adam Lucio touched on last week, and that would be that we could chase and get paid for it. And Dan, you're kind of living that dream of kind of chasing freely and getting paid for it, just because, like you said, you're in the market of video sales for media stations. So kind of explain, I think you kind of have more complex than that answer that I'm sure some people would be interested in hearing.
Well, yeah, like I said, it's most of what has been profitable is just shooting snow and rain, and that the problem is that all dried up about 2008, 2009. That was more of the thing in the past. I don't do as much of that now. And but yeah, I mean, if you catch something good, you get yourself a broker that can handle it and get it out there. Who knows? You could pay for a couple of chases, and when I give the figure of that high dollar amount, it kind of you have to put it in perspective that I made that back over the years. It's not just I've spent 150,000 of my income, on chasing and without having a way to replenish that. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely a lot harder to do it now, and I don't want to give the impression to somebody that's just getting into this that it's something that you can do. I mean, right now I have 3 different company jobs. I have the company I work for in West Virginia. I'm doing contract work for another 2 companies. So, I still have to work a day job to pay the bills and keep things going. It would be great if I could, just chase full time, but the reality is chasing just barely pays for itself in a good year. So you're still going to have to keep your day job. There's nothing wrong with trying to monetize some of the video and the photos that you shoot, but just be realistic about it. If you're really good and you have put some effort into it, you can pay for a season here and there, but it's a lot of times it's not going to be from chasing. You're going to have to find some other ways. I have one of my video cameras. I paid for some of it by doing corporate video shoots on the side. So you have to do some boring things sometimes to pay for your equipment, or at least that's how I've done it.
Well, yeah, that's definitely kind of an interesting way to do it. A lot of people don't really think about having multiple jobs or contract jobs that to actually afford to chase and stuff. And of course, people always thought about monetizing videos. That's kind of a new thing now, especially with YouTube's features of monetizing. I don't know. I'm sure Skip or someone else will know exactly, but I think if I remember right, it's like for every 1,000 views, it's like $1 worth of ad sales added into your pocket. So if you can make, a few 100,000 views or even million plus views, then it is a good profitable hobby. The problem is getting there without how can I say this, without killing yourself, because it seems like the only footage that ever gets there is footage that pretty much puts you about 2 centimeters away from death. So there's a fine line, I guess, but it's kind of like, how much do you think your life is worth to you? James, I know yours will be brief, but you're pretty much a broke-ass college student, so
yeah, that you
sure.
I am poor.
Yeah.
So I haven't worked a job out here. I usually work back home at a local grocery store. The biggest issue is it's like I could work a job, but I'm also ensconced in 4 or 5 classes each semester. It's kind of a pain in the ass to have to go straight from class, straight to work, go to bed, wake up at 7:30 the next morning, go to class, wash, repeat, and but college in and of itself kind of takes up a decent amount of time, without even working, and it definitely doesn't make chasing easier, but it does give a lot more freedom than having a full-time 9-to-5 job, or hire a really, I guess, I don't know, introductory job like right out of school where you have to absolutely be there or else you're, they're not going to promote you or anything. And it's not that like I try to make sure like I don't usually skip class. I try to make sure I always go to class. I won't skip. It'd have to be insane. I would never skip a day where if it's going to be like a calculus or a physics class, I would never skip that for chasing. But it does kind of it makes it a lot harder, but at the same time a lot easier in some respects. It kind of balances out, I guess you could say.
Yeah, that makes sense. You kind of have to take the good with the bad. Like I said, my job's really flexible with it, which is good. I have a commission-based job, which means if I'm not working, like actually producing work, then I'm not getting paid. I could stand around all day at work and not get paid a dime. So, these months right now, the winter months, it sucks because that's actually the slowest time of year for us. But also, it's the time of year where I'm totally willing to work as much as I can, as long as it works there. Come in on Saturdays. I don't need to come in just to kind of get that extra money, kind of give myself a cushion. So, Wesley, I've known you for a few years, and I've known that you've kind of bounced around from job to job in those few years, but I think you kind of landed on something solid now, haven't you?
Well, I mean, I finally got a job that, fell in line with my degree, what I actually went to school for and stuff. But, I mean, it's not one of the highest paying, but I keep it for the benefits, for the family. Like, you have a kid. I mean, if your kid doesn't get sick, hey, that's great. If your kid gets sick, you are going to go broke. Medical stuff will just kill you. Like, we had to go into the hospital for a day and a half. Without insurance, it would have cost us $15,000, something like that. I mean, you got to have insurance. But the thing is, since it's not a big high-paying job, it's one of those that gives you a ton of annual leave. So I can normally, and my boss is pretty flexible, it can almost be a day before the chase half the time. I'll be like, hey, I've got to go to Oklahoma tomorrow. Okay, as long as my deadlines and stuff are met. So it's more on me. But I have missed so many days, though, because I wait so long in the week to finish stuff up and get stuff out. I missed November 7th in Southwest Oklahoma. I sat there at work while that was going on. May 25th, when Skip was up in the plane, I was wanting to go on that day so much, but I waited so long to get some stuff done, I ended up getting tied up at work where I couldn't go, and I had to sit at work that day, too. But I'll take sitting at work on those days and not blowing an engine or...
Yeah, whatever. Wasn't my fault. Wasn't my fault the engine blew up. I'm still blaming Tony Prop. And then if you watching Tony, it's your fault that I missed that day.
But I will say one thing that James said he would never skip a class. I'm pretty sure as long as I didn't have a test, I probably skipped.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm a line whore. I've skipped class multiple times.
No, the best one I ever skipped, I skipped severe and unusual weather to go storm chase.
Yeah, you're probably safe in that one, though. That's one of those 1,000 classes.
But that cost me a grade point in that class because that was the day to turn in an extra point. I didn't think I needed it. Well, I ended up chasing so much during that class, I somehow ended up with a B in severe and unusual weather. It's kind of a disgrace on my part. I didn't want to write a review of Twister because I would have bashed the movie so bad. So.
Oh, come on. Well,
now that there's Into the Storm, it kind of makes Twister look pretty sweet. But
I haven't even watched that, but I almost refuse to watch it. I've heard the news.
I have it on Blu-ray if you want to see it. I mean, it's worth a watch once, but you better drink it.
Oh man, Dan, have you seen that new Into the Storm?
They gave me a free pass to see it when it came out, and I hope I wasn't supposed to give them a good review because I didn't. They probably
I don't think
giving me the free ticket because I didn't give them a good review.
That was like I don't think Chasers for good reviews or something, and I saw Chasers giving them good reviews, like, oh, it was a pretty good movie, and I go and watch it, it was like a B movie.
Oh, it was like a C movie. A B movie, like rating would be nice for that.
Hey, I don't know when that CGI of the tank getting launched up into the storm and it suddenly being sunny. That was pretty. That was amazing. I don't know about you guys, but I had goosebumps. It was.
The CGI is awesome in that movie, but
It was
the
so
acting is like painfully bad. Give me Helen Hunt back, please. I'll take
Oh,
those
okay,
back.
that's bad when you're calling Helen Hunt back. Yeah, well, yeah. If you're calling Helen Hunt back to that, then yeah, there's definitely some issues with that. So, oh, all right. So I think we've covered the bases here. So yeah, I think you guys, at least everyone in here, I believe, put a comment and voted in that thread about paycheck to paycheck or better job for less chasing. So kind of discuss what you guys chose there. We'll start with you, Wes. What did you decide on that thread?
I took number 2 because I've missed so many chases. I've gotten used to the fact I'd rather be comfortable in my life and be able to provide for my kids, be able to go to college, pay medical bills and whatnot, than worry about chasing that much. I mean, I'm gonna miss stuff. That's just how it is. I'm sorry if my camera's shaking. My cat's biting the edge of my computer right now.
Damn cats. All right. Well, Dan, how about you? How did you respond to that thread?
I choose number 1, obviously, but I also, if you choose number 1, it doesn't mean you have to live paycheck to paycheck. I mean, there are a lot of ways to have a flexible job, not live in poverty. And I've had some lean times, I've had some good times, and there's definitely some ups and downs if you choose the number 1 lifestyle, but it's definitely doable, and you can still have the best of both worlds. I don't think it's right for everyone, but I wouldn't completely discount a freelance type deal if that's what you want to do.
Yeah, that's and when I posed that question, I obviously went for the drastic differences. I am by no means living by paycheck to paycheck, but I'm definitely not making a lot of money, especially when there are times between paychecks where I suddenly realize, oh, I'm totally broke. I got to wait till payday before I buy anything, including this $1 sandwich or whatever. So I have those moments. Just like I said, I work a commission job, so some pay halves are way better than the other, and I kind of come up to those periods. So, but I don't know. I prefer to be able to kind of just do what I go out when I please, because I feel like I haven't had it happen too many times, but I think the one time it did happen, and I'm almost glad I didn't chase, but was May 31st last year. I was desperately trying to get to Oklahoma City and trying to go chase that day, the El Reno day, but it was the end of the month, and we had to push all the work we can out the shop for the end of the month to kind of crunch our numbers. And so that's kind of what happened is I got stuck at the shop just kind of watching what happened. And like I said, almost glad I didn't go, though, because I think it would have been an extremely stressful chase. And I know a couple of you guys, Dan, you were pretty much in that situation where arena was really stressful for you. So it's one of those deals where you don't want to miss it, but sometimes you're glad you do. So, but I know we haven't heard from Skip on his job, but I think he's still got a baby human to deal with.
I might be able to talk for a bit. We'll see here.
So yeah, just kind of explain, your job and how it allows you to chase and how it affects your chasing.
Yeah, so I'm a software developer, and the last few jobs I have been really pretty flexible, letting me get out there. I've had some really nice bosses that, as long as we get the project done, I can go out there and chase. And sometimes it means working Saturday, Sunday. Sometimes it means working longer hours. One gig I did, we were working every single day. But come spring, I was able to take off with little to no notice. So that's a really nice gig. A couple other times I was between jobs, so I just tried to live it up and chase as much as I could. So I've been pretty fortunate in that regard. So that there are career paths where you can get to chase more, and it might take a little bit longer to get there, but I think it's worth it. And I have given up jobs because of chasing. Like they ask me, what do you do? What do you like to do? What are your hobbies? You know, you tell them about storm chasing and traveling the plains and stuff, and they start to get real squeamish. So yeah, I've given up a couple gigs, but you know, in the end, I would much rather give up those gigs than be working 9-to-5 office space job and not chase. So I lean towards option one. I'd rather work, you know, a job and chase than I would a nice career, I think, and have 2 weeks off that is preset. And I might regret that later in life, but right now that's kind of where I'm at.
Cool. James, we kind of skipped you on your opinion on that thread. What did you choose and why?
I picked option number one, and I think the biggest reason for that is, you know, I mean, having a, you know, well-planted lifestyle, you know, career and all that. I mean, that'd be great and all, but for what I love to do, that really doesn't kind of get me where I want to be with my life. And having the ability to go out and do what I want and do something that, you know, 50 years down the road, I can be happy about saying I did, instead of having to, you know, pursue my career for, you know, 20 years to get to a point where I had the ability to actually go out and chase more frequently, instead of having to ask off, you know, 9 months in advance to go chasing. And I mean, even if it was like living bare bones, paycheck to paycheck, as long as I didn't have to, as long as I wasn't bringing someone else down with me, you know, like a spouse or a child or something, I'd be totally comfortable doing it. Because you know what, I've lived as a poor college student for 3 years now. I'm fine with it. You know, it doesn't bother me at all, and it's being able to chase whenever I want and having the ability to do so, even with, you know, tight money, would be awesome.
Well, let me tell you, living a poor college student life trying to chase is tough. But yeah, if you can handle it, then why not? If you're comfortable with it, then why not? You know, there's no reason that you have to go. You know, nothing tells you nothing's making you live a certain life with certain pay. You know, nothing's making you go out and have relationships. Nothing's making you go out and have kids. That's all your decision. So yeah, if you can handle it, you know, hell, even if you want to just live out of your car for 9 months out of the year to save the money to go chase and go flip burgers for the rest, you know, for the rest of the time, then so be it. And if you're comfortable doing that, then yeah, definitely do it. Don't let anyone dictate how it works, you know, or how you're supposed to live. So just kind of take that advice. So, well, cool. I don't know if you guys have any other thoughts about that, or if there's any more commandments we need to add to our storm chasing list there. I think we got a couple down.
Oh, I think the biggest one financially is don't be fooled by the 99-cent jumbo drinks at Speedway or various other gas stations. In the long run, it will bite you in the ass.
Okay. Okay.
There's a story behind that I'll get to later. Don't ya?
Okay. Dan, do you have anything for our storm chasing 10 commandments? Oh, wait. I'm sorry.
Backup plan. I guess it's good to have a backup plan no matter what, but you know, diversify your income sources and have as many, you know, safety lines as you can, and that'll help you do what you want.
Right. So have not only a big backup plan for chasing, but also have a backup plan financially, because sometimes this might not last forever. So pretty good advice there. I hope all the noobs that are watching take stuff from this show, because we're just giving out information that you're not going to get from any website or any other chaser or any other Q&A hangout session that might be airing on at this exact moment. I'm not saying anyone in particular, but I'm saying someone in particular. Oh,
Is
man.
that coincidence, or how did that happen? Like, why is that perfectly lined up? How did that happen?
I don't know. I'm seriously like, okay, for everyone that doesn't know or doesn't know what we're talking about, Reese Hammer has been running his Q&A podcast stuff every Sunday, exactly at the time we do it. And not only that, but he's doing it in the exact same format as us, which is a host and 3 guests. And I don't know if maybe the word got out through StormTrack, because I know there's people on StormTrack that I think are kind of in his group of people. And, we had a lot of positive responses when we were thinking of this idea back in late December about doing a podcast for chasing. And I think that word may have gotten around to him. I think maybe the time frame is just a coincidence, but the whole thing that he's doing it, because no one else is doing it. I mean, come on. I know we have weather brains, but that's more of like the sciencey weather talk, and this was supposed to be just a storm chasing podcast. And I'm thinking the word got to him that was happening, and he's like, well, that's a great idea. I could do that too.
It's possible that both groups came up with the idea independently, but it kind of seems like, and I know you didn't yank it from Reed, but I do know that this has been in the works for a couple months. So it is odd that would pop up at the same time in the same format, same location, same place. It's almost like when somebody built an armored vehicle, and then a couple of years later there was another armored vehicle that suddenly appeared. So.
No, not just one armored vehicle, but 4 came out. So. That's quite a coincidence. I mean, it was over time, but yeah, 4 of them did show up. I don't know, guys. If he makes $36,000 in a month, like he's trying to do, then maybe this is actually a good idea to run a podcast. Because, I mean, come on, we can do $36,000 in a month, then, right? That'd be awesome. So. I don't know. That's such a weird thing that actually happened. That it just happened to happen. When we were doing it, it happened to be right when we're doing it. Happened to be the same format. But I think someone made a mention of it in the StormTrack chat that there's more, for this show, we kind of aim to have more structure, a little more professionalism, whereas his was just kind of like, his name's there, and that's all he needs to kind of get the views, which is true. I mean, we're sitting at a steady 15 viewers. We've had been all episode. I'm sure his is raking in a few hundred, but maybe I just need to build my own tank and do the same thing. I don't know. So, okay. Well, enough about that because I'll probably get in trouble if I keep talking about that. I'll have some big time things go on.
Here's my commandment, and I kind of missed the chasing commandment setup, so maybe I'm like out of context here. But like my commandment is chasing is a hobby to me and always will be. I never want to make it a job, and as a result, none of that crap matters to me. Like I didn't even know Reed was doing a show, and it doesn't bother me. And I don't care if people build tanks either. I think as long as I can just go out and see a storm or a tornado, nothing else really matters.
Yeah, and that's kind of interesting that you say that because we just heard from Dan that he does this as an income source, and I know Skip means no anything personal, but it's 2 different sides of the coin with storm chasing where you have you Dan are trying to just at least compensate some of the costs because we just discussed. I mean, you just kept tallies of how much this costs, and that's a mind-blowing amount of money that I don't think some of these chasers really realize is that.
Don't get joking. I sell my video too. I sell video and pictures, and if I can recoup my costs anyway, I'll gladly do it. But I absolutely don't want that to be why I'm going out there. I think that would ruin it for me. Is if it just become a mundane job then to me.
Yeah, and Dan is also kind of living his commandment that he said. He has contingency plans for his income. So even though storm chasing is making him money, that's not his only source. Which in the case of Reed, that's pretty much his only source. I'm sure he's got, you know, things here and there that are getting him money, but
Bosch
the whole
windshield
thing kind of,
wipers, remember?
yeah, I mean, he sells windshield wipers. So
But you also have to remember that, I mean, the chasing part, chasing tornadoes, chasing planes, isn't really much of an income source for me. Every once in a while I'll have a good chase and a good set of sales, but most of my, I guess you'd call storm chasing, I don't know if you want to count winter weather stuff that I do as storm chasing. I guess you could. But a lot of that is a part of what I consider, you know, weather-related income, and a lot of people don't do that. So it might not be, it might not be accurate to say that I'm making that storm chasing is an income source, but it's weather video is kind of an all-encompassing, you know, photography, video. But definitely storm chasing has always been a, you know, it's always been a hobby to me that, you know, if I can recoup some of my costs, I'll do it if I can. And definitely, if I never made a dime on any other tornado video or lightning video, I would still do it.
yeah, I think that's the thing is there's the difference is like you said, you can accept the fact that if it doesn't happen, if you don't make money, then that's fine. And that's kind of, I think, where a lot of people's respect kind of comes from is if, you know, if you're one of those guys that has to shoot a tornado and as soon as that tornado's over with, you know, pull over and upload it, edit it, upload it, get it to your broker, and you're just letting the storm walk away while you're having to sit there and do that. That's kind of, I think that's where a lot of respect is, the big gap between the hobbyist and those that make money out of it. You know, I certainly would not enjoy doing that at all. So, okay, well, James, do you have anything to add to that? You've been kind of quiet.
Honestly, it just kind of really piggybacking off what you said. It is really hard to imagine, you know, having to stop and then immediately find, you know, Wi-Fi to upload video or send it to somebody or what have you. But at the same time, you know, I think what a lot of newer people may misunderstand is that I have most of us don't have a problem with selling video. I think actually none of us, all five of us here, have no problem selling your video and making money off it. And you know, Dan makes, you know, a decent amount of money off of, you know, winter weather events and all that. And it's just it shouldn't be. I don't think it should be viewed by some as, you know, if you're newer, it shouldn't be viewed as a bad thing. It's just something that's, you know, it's not the norm. And a lot of times, people that make, you know, a ton of money off of it are the exception and not necessarily the rule.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Most of the years where I do make a profit, it's very, very minimal, just enough to where I have to pay Uncle Sam a little bit. It's not nearly enough to live on, you know, or do, you know. That's why I have to keep my day jobs. They pay the bills, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, that's good that you have those day jobs and contingency jobs. Just, you know, never know when something might fall through. So that is a pretty good piece of advice. And at least go on this 10 commandments. Always have a backup. Not just chasing, but financially, you know, always have a backup. So, oh man. So, anything else you guys want to add to that subject? Because I know it's kind of a pretty deep subject that I don't think a lot of people really think about. You know, selling video. I mean, there was a period. What do you think? Maybe 7 years ago. I would say 6-7 years ago, where selling video was the thing to do in chasing. You know, selling DVDs and streaming. And all that.
There was money to be made, and then by that point, once everybody had a camera, everybody had a phone, they got so much free crap. I mean, like, yeah, the video sales are still out there, but heck, I used to get stuff from Discovery Channel in my YouTube like every year. Oh, we want to buy stuff. Normally, I put so much contingency on whatever the cost was, they would back out of it because I'm not giving my stuff away for free. But I haven't got anything from YouTube in years. I mean, it's just because there's so much free stuff out there for them now.
It's definitely harder.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you, Dan. there's a big rise in kind of the general public just giving away videos that they have or pictures and whatnot. And how has that affected you in your income with storm chasing?
Well, I definitely see a drop off in the stock footage aspect because of that. My biggest problem now is copyright infringement. I've actually gotten to the point where I'm close to giving up the whole winter weather video because it's a lot of work. I spend a lot of time on it, and it's a lot of behind-the-scenes work, a lot of standing out in the cold for hours. And sometimes I make a little bit off of that, but what happens is I have to sit there and deal with the copyright infringers just constantly for the rest, for the rest of, seems like the rest of my life almost. But every day I have to search for copyright infringers and send takedown notices, and it's it's getting to the point where the time I'm putting into it, not just shooting the video but managing the copyright infringement stuff, is starting to tip the scales a little bit on whether it's really worth it. I can always spend that time in web development work. I know that's guaranteed income, and don't have to worry about the copyright issue.
Yeah, that's a good point. There's just a lot of people that are out there that really want to take stuff, and I kind of wonder if maybe, I don't know, maybe you guys can chime in on this now that I'm thinking about it. Do you think that the part of the decline in like the StormTrack website in terms of posting things is because people were taking those photos and calling them around? At least with Facebook and your own personal blogs and stuff, you can kind of protect that stuff, all your pictures and videos into one area. But I don't know if maybe that contributed to that. If that's why it's really hard to get these chasers out of their little corners of Facebook because they're just afraid to lose, their stuff to people that are just out to steal it.
I'm not really sure if that's the big thing that happened, because Facebook, I think, is probably the worst offender in terms of how easily people can get away with taking stuff and just ripping stuff off there. Where StormTrack is a little bit harder, I think. Let's get rid of it. Most of the people on StormTrack, the overwhelming majority, they're not going to steal a photo and try to resell it or use it as their own or whatever, what have you. Facebook, you have a much higher likelihood of running into people who you probably will never know, never heard of, who will take your photo, claim it as their own, tell all their friends and family about it, and maybe be contacted by somebody to use it on it or something like that. I think StormTrack's decline had more to do with just the kind of, split into little sects of chasers, different, with different mindsets and different ways of chasing in different regions. Used to be, from what I can remember, all the Panhandle guys were separated in one group, all the college-age Norman kids were in one group, and so on and so forth. I think that the kind of clickiness did more than the, lack of ability to protect your copyright and stuff like that on StormTrack.
When Facebook gave us all a way to, all us Panhandle guys to talk to each other, or, it gave those clicks a way where they could just talk to themselves and you didn't have to deal with the other noise. Not to say there was a lot on StormTrack, say, around 2010, but, the forecast threads just died up once a few people left. Those things used to be 10 pages long for a decent event. Now you go in there, you might get 5 posts, and I'm hoping that changes. I'm doing what I can to help that. But
yeah, speaking of that, if you guys haven't heard the word, of course, StormTrack is under new ownership and currently in the works to completely revamp the site. In fact, I've been hearing some guys today talk to me about the site just completely changing format in terms of software and stuff. So I know Dan's been kind of working with some of those guys with StormTrack and trying to get something going together. So is there anything that you can share without getting yourself in trouble, Dan?
Well, we're working on a lot of different features. If you go back to the future of Storm Track thread on the old site, the current site, a lot of those ideas are being considered, and some of them are being worked on. So we're going to have a lot of stuff going on.
That's good. Yeah, I kind of can't wait to see what's going to happen. I'm sure we're going to have a show specifically for Storm Track in terms of just kind of going over all the features. Since the podcast does allow us to do a lot of screen sharing stuff, we'll probably be able to do it that way. Probably not much of a big popular show with everyone, but if you kind of want to learn visually how to use Storm Track to its full potential, we'll probably have a show down the line just for that. So just keep an eye on that. I'm sure it'll happen soon enough. I don't know, Dan or Skip, do you guys know a time frame when this might happen?
I don't think there's a time frame yet.
There was a mention of ChaserCon-ish time, wasn't there?
Yeah, I think that's
official.
kind of a soft target.
Okay.
Okay, and that's ChaserCon is about a month away, if I'm not mistaken. So a little pressure, but I think something's going to happen for the best. So, so if you guys are watching and you don't even know what we're talking about, stormtrack.org, kind of rebuilding it basically to make it the new hub of storm chasing, just for your education purposes and your forecast purposes and storm report purposes. You know, we're going to kind of have all that centralized. So it should be good once we get that thing rolling.
Yeah, and we have cookies. We promise you'll get a cookie if you join Storm Track.
Yeah, paid for by Steve Miller, Oklahoma. He will provide you. He will mail you the cookies. Might even personally hand it. So, okay, so that's good. Do you guys have anything else to add on to any of the subjects we talked on today? With your family affecting your chasing, with your job affecting, is there anything else you want to add to that before we wrap the show up?
I definitely think chasing it's a great hobby to have. It's something that's it's great to be passionate about, but it's I'd do it all year round if I could. But I think at the same time it's also important to keep things in perspective and not make your entire don't just be like chasing all the time. Don't only talk about chasing with other people, because eventually it just kind of you'll burn yourself out that way. It'll lose kind of the luster it has every year that you go out, and just kind of not having a one-track mind, I guess, is the biggest thing. Do other things. It's not to say you're diminishing the importance of chasing, but definitely budget your time a bit. Spend time with other people. If you have significant others, don't leave them out to dry. Just kind of stuff like that.
Yeah, that's a pretty good point. Revolve your life around chasing, but then at the same time, don't revolve your life around chasing. So, such a conundrum for the chaser in their heads. So yeah, I talk about chasing all the time with just people that either are amazed by it or they don't know what exactly it encompasses. But I talk to a lot of people about it. So it kind of helps you get it out of your head and kind of get your thoughts out at the same time. So, okay, guys. Well, if you got nothing else, I think we'll move on and we'll go ahead and wrap the show up here pretty soon. So, as you guys know, we kind of do a scientifically 100% accurate tornado prediction for 2015, and I'm sure you guys have heard of it. So, we got quite a few numbers for how the 15 season is going to be. Wesley and Dan, you guys aren't on the list yet, so you guys are going to be up to bat on this one. If you guys have any scientific proof that you're right, then that'd be awesome. I don't remember, James. Well, you weren't here last week, James, but I think we said that we were going to make like a trophy or something.
Yeah. All right, you might get like an autographed photo of the bear or something.
No, yeah, you'll get a photograph with the bear. We'll Photoshop you in with the bear. I think we were going to make a trophy called the Nostradamus of tornadoes or something like that for 2015. So we'll start with we'll go ahead and start with Wesley there. Wesley, what do you think the 2015 season is going to have in terms of tornado count, and why do you pick that?
official tornado count,
Yeah.
SPC official. I think Steve Miller started a thread on that. I think I said 1249. Whatever the average is, 1250. I picked 100.
You're trying to lowball me here.
No,
You know what? No, he totally
I'm doing the
prices.
prices right.
Price is right, Skip, by the way, because Skip put 1250. So.
That's my scientific. I use Price is Right knowledge.
Oh man, Skip, you kind of got robbed.
One tornado next year, and then
Yeah, just one, Bob. Just $1, Bob. So, Dan, what about you? What's your prediction here for 2015 and why?
we're due for an above-average year. I'm going to say 1,400.
1,400. I believe James picked that, so you'll have to go something different.
1,401.
Okay. So if we have any more than that, then James, you don't get the trophy.
Oh man, come on! I want that bear photo.
Oh man.
I'm sure he'll let you take a picture with it.
Yeah.
I meant to ask you, Mark, have we come up with? Has anyone put forth a name for that thing yet?
Yeah. I don't remember who actually picked it though. I'm kind of embarrassed that I didn't look at the name, but his official name is going to be Dusty. Tribute from Twister and a tribute for old Philip Seymour Hoffman. So that's Dusty the Bear.
OU hat.
Do what?
We gotta find you the old OU hat. Though if I could ever find one with the slanted OU, I'd probably keep it for myself. But I'll give you one of my old OU hats to put on there and make it legit.
I say they have. So we have one in our apartment somewhere. If I find it, I'll send it to you.
Awesome. Yeah, and I think last night I was looking it up. I was gonna buy like a child's T-shirt for like storm chasing and put it on him or something like that. So we'll see. Maybe I'll go to the old TVN store and buy a child shirt for him. So just for some friendly competition. So okay, so man, y'all's numbers are great because y'all just kick Skip and James right where it hurts. So I don't know. It may be right on the number though, so that'd be kind of interesting.
Well,
No,
the only number I care about, like the total number, it's always tainted by the Southeast or the Midwest or whatever. The Southern Plains number, that's the only number that matters. We've been so far below for the past 3 years. That's why I say it'll at least be normal, if not above that. But that's the only number I care about.
Exactly. And I know I've been watching the Climate Prediction Center's precip predictions for like the South Texas area, kind of in that area from northern Mexico, and it's been in the green for a while. So I'm really hoping that it's true and we get some rain out there because that's quite a factor.
La Nina. It's neutral and it looks to hold that way. So I mean that's generally a pretty good sign for the Southern Plains.
I mean, 2011 was on La Nina, and 2011 was a pretty great year for chasing, or at least for tornadoes.
Not anywhere west of I-35.
Well, yeah, but come on, at least there was something. But we've had these last 3 years from 12, 13, and 14 have all been neutral years, and they've been really low. So, you know what? There really is not much of a correlation, I don't think, but there's enough if you have a strong enough year. If we get an El Nino year, a weak El Nino year, that just increases the chances, I think, of having some Southern Plains tornadoes, I'm sure. Kind of brings that jet stream, further south where we kind of get those setups coming in. So, something.
Yeah, and also, if anyone's looking out at the models, hour 240, slight disturbance, Southern Plains. I'm feeling it. I'm calling it now.
It's been there for a couple runs now, I guess.
Yeah. I actually saw that there this morning, and I was looking at the moisture plots, and I'm like, are those 50s trying to creep up in here? Oh, man. So
that's the new high-res GFS too, right? So it's got to be accurate.
Everything is correct on the new GFS now. It is never wrong, is what I've been literally.
The goofus, as we call it. Hey, yeah, real quick, let's talk about that real quick. We got a little bit of time. James, do you know about James or Skip or whoever?
Oh, sorry, hold on real quick. I just got this brought to my attention. Rather large, massive trough moving through the plains at hour
336.
336.
Put that
Oh man, that's like guaranteed outbreak right there.
You know
So,
it.
The surface low.
yeah. Hey, well, that's in February. I mean, there's been some pretty big setups down here in February. So, anyway, yeah. Real quick, for you science nerds that are watching, GFS. What are some of the changes, James, that people need to be excited about?
Some of the changes that I saw were it kind of changed the. Sorry, hold on. I'm gonna need to pull it up because I'm not gonna be able to list off everything. Let's see here.
Worthless.
I think increased the resolution, didn't they?
Yeah, the resolution to hour 240 has now been increased, so
So
you
they
don't
also
get those
had,
broad strokes.
so here it is. So better horizontal resolution towards the end of the forecast from 240 to 384. So like now we have, and we also have, 2 hour 236, hour 240, yada yada yada, through that from 0 to 240 that entire period. It's been, I guess what happened is they tried to reduce the kind of like noise that comes from stratosphere, like disturbances of stratosphere kind of, muddles the picture a bit towards the upper levels of the atmosphere on those charts. And some of the other big stuff is, they've increased resolution, started assimilating GOES and UEM METSAT motion vectors into all the solutions. Bunch of other, bias removals, stuff like that. I think someone was mentioning the cool bias, will be a little bit watered down now, thankfully. So there's a whole slew of it.
Is there a website for those guys to go check that out? I guess SBC or someone, does they have that?
Yeah, if you go to NSEP, I think they have a status update on it. It should be down. It should be under the model analysis and guidance page, and they should have it on the sidebar. If I can find it here. It should be. If you go click on the website information on the right of the title, it should have some of the changes and bug fixes. So.
Okay, well that's cool. I don't know about you guys. I actually somewhat like the GFS. It's been pretty. It's pretty accurate. Not accurate. That's the wrong word. It's pretty consistent around the mid-range. The 4 to 7 days in terms of kind of the broad scale features, the big lows and stuff, and the jet streams, and everything else is kind of minuscule, mesoscale. So you kind of don't really put a lot of faith in it, but around that mid-range, that's the model I look at because I usually have to give about 2 to 3 day advance on when I want to chase at work. So that's like perfect. So.
Yep.
So cool. Well, guys, I really think I want to thank Wesley, Dan, and Skip for being on the show today. Hopefully you guys join us. And Skip, I'm glad you could bring your baby. Obviously. So,
yeah, she's calmed down now.
That's good.
We're all clear now.
All right. So another news real quick before we wrap this up. And a couple of guys on Storm Track have done a really great favor for us in starting some social media pages. We have now a Facebook page and a Twitter page, thanks to Justin Wilcox and Caleb Grunsky. I believe the Twitter is going to be, here, I'll just write it up here. So the Twitter page, which is not going to be moderated by us, but it'll definitely be moderated by Caleb, is that right there at TGT_show. That would be the Twitter page, and I believe the Facebook page is just TGT show is the actual Facebook page. So just another avenue for us to kind of get out there, do some advertising, and talk about different things. That's another way we can connect to the viewers. So just go over there, send out tweets if you have any suggestions or compliments or whatever. We'll get the message rather quickly. So yeah, I think this is a great improvement. We're growing. We're getting a little better, and my whole goal was that every show we're going to keep improving. So even though I totally ruined the intro because I screwed up again, but we do have an intro now. We have intro music, and I hope everyone enjoyed that song because I don't care what you think, I'm going to play it every time. I'm sure eventually I'm going to get an outro song. I don't know how that's going to work out or what we're going to do, but we'll get something going. So yeah, we're chugging along. We're getting better. Hopefully by chase season we have basically a semi-professional show to kind of do the showcasing and stuff. That's kind of why James and I have done this thing of setup analysis. It's kind of good practice for us for when it actually happens and we actually do those shows. So speaking of which, James, we will be on next Saturday at 8 o'clock talking about 3 big days again. Go ahead and tell those people what those days were because I totally forgot.
We're going to be talking about, let me see if I can remember. I kind of
forgot to. So
yeah,
we're both kind of worthless here.
I was planning on talking about I think the Deer Trail Day, June 10th, 2010, Tampo, May 31st, 2010, and then it's basically going to be an Upslope Fest for next week, and we'll also be talking about I believe it was it Last Chance mid-90s large F4 tornado.
June or July 21st, I think, or 23rd, 1993. Yeah, that was the Colorado Wedge.
Yeah,
we watched on the first beta. So, yeah, we're gonna totally piss everybody off by talking about Campo next week. So, hey Wes, does that count for one of your worst busts? Would you even consider that?
Yeah, that is a bust because for whatever reason, I could chase, but I didn't that day. I don't know. I hadn't even looked at models. I was actually playing Call of Duty, and I was like, I think someone on Facebook said something about it, so I pulled up the radar, and I was like, what the hell? Plus, it's in between the radar, so it's not really showing anything great, and then the freaking pictures came in. That's like a 2-hour drive, not even like breaking a sweat to get there. That was painful.
Yeah,
well, what was the other day you mentioned, the first one?
June 10th, 2010,
Deer Trail. I passed through Colorado the day before. I stopped in Dalhart and stayed the night there. And I wasn't going to chase. And I was like, oh, what the heck, I'll chase. I went and chased Western Kansas that day. Some like high base, super low precip storm that I got like one lightning picture from. So yeah, my bust is just about everywhere.
His busts are legendary. Let's just put it that way. So. Okay, cool. So yeah, next week we'll be talking about upslope days. The days that are really hard to forecast, I think, but just kind of one of those periods or one of those locations where you just go stay the night in Lyman for like 2 weeks in June, and I guarantee you're going to get tornadoes as long as you know how to chase properly. All right, well that's cool. Yeah, we'll be back next week on 8 p.m. talking about those days, kind of in detail. So. We hope you guys will join us at that time. I'm sure we'll tweet it out. We'll get it on Facebook so everyone can see. I'd like to thank Caleb and Justin for taking up that work for us and kind of getting us the social media thing. I hope next week we're a little more professional in terms of me not screwing up so much. Don't know, but we'll see. So, all right, guys.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. Whatever. You're the one who can't even get internet last week to even be on the show. Okay. So don't talk to me.
That's OU's problem. That is not my problem.
I'm pretty sure it's your problem. Yeah, it's your problem. I mean, Wes, did you have any problems with internet at OU?
Other than the first year that I downloaded a demo to the game and it was marked by the software company and they like stopped my internet. It was saying it was a pirated version. It was just a demo of the game, but that's what I get for using Kazaa or whatever it was called back in the day.
Oh yeah.
I got my internet knocked off by OU in the last week of school right before finals.
Nice. All right. So yeah, James, don't you talk about me about being professional because you're the one who can't even get on the show because of your internet. So yeah. Anyway. All right, guys, so that's it. We'll go ahead and close the show up. I think we did pretty good on time. Yeah, pretty much. We'll be back next week again with episode 4. Same time, same place. Hopefully Reed's not doing his show because, damn it, Reed, he took my viewers. So, all right, well, if that's it, we'll see you guys later.
See you, Marcus. See you, everybody.
Bye.